My name is Justin Guse. I'm a Senior Cloud Solutions Architect at EagleDream Technologies. One thing that I think really inspires people from TECHTalks is the ability to actually go and do things and hearing about how other businesses are using the technologies to really move themselves forward and really innovate. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good time. Awesome talk by Adam on AI/ML. Really interesting, cool topic. Got to learn a little bit about how we can demystify it, kind of cut through the noise there. Everybody get some free food and drink, I hope. We got some more cocktails coming up as well, too. So I was on the fence a little bit, and then I heard there's free food, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be here. Let's talk. Let's talk technology. So, no, I'm just kidding. Again, Justin Guse, Cloud Architect at EagleDream Technologies. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about some of the things that we hear from customers, potential customers that are starting to navigate the cloud and really try to understand what it is. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and give a little bit of a background about EagleDream Technologies and who we are as a company. So EagleDream Technologies, we're not just your typical tech firm. We are a cloud-first IT consulting company specializing in helping our customers through digital transformation by the use of cloud technologies. We help customers of all different sizes, from Fortune 500s to small and medium businesses. And we really understand that digital transformation, it's not something that happens overnight. This is something that takes time, it takes buy-in. It takes effort from all parts of the business to really transform it and adapt and use cloud-based technologies. We help them pave their path to digital transformation through long-term strategic business relationships, and that's what we really pride ourselves on as a company. We, as a company, we are innovators, we're builders, we're experts in our field, and we use that vast expertise to combine modern IT methodologies with cutting-edge software development process to design and operate enterprise systems in the cloud. Some of the things that we do as a company include things like web, UI, UX design, enabling leading-edge application development in the cloud. We specialize in cloud-native application architectures, doing things like DevOps, serverless, containers, platform services. We also specialize in data lakes, so taking your data, making use of it, really using it to drive your business forward. And also AI/ML, as we heard a little bit about through Adam's talk, and using some of those technologies, again, to really move our business forward in the landscape. And these are just a few of the things that we do as a company. We help, again, a variety of customers leveraging all types of cloud-based technologies. One thing that makes us really unique is that we're actually one of the largest and fastest growing AWS advanced tier consulting partners on the East Coast, and soon to be premier, hopefully within the next few months here. And our employees truly embrace cloud technologies. We have about 80 plus employees with over 50 AWS certifications. A lot of businesses that you hear that have that many certifications and are that invested in technology are very large organizations. And for being less than 100 people, it's very remarkable. And one other cool thing that I'd like to call out too is that our VP of Cloud, who is actually out in the audience today, he's one of 20 APN ambassadors in the entire country. And an APN ambassador, partner network ambassador, is somebody that shows deep expertise in AWS services and really shares that information with the community. That's a pretty cool thing to be named. So really interesting. And also, one thing about being an AWS partner is that we're able to help our customers take advantage of funding programs that Amazon has put forth to really accelerate them into the cloud and help them move their systems to the cloud and build cloud natively. We also hold several competencies with AWS, including DevOps, so expertise in CI, CD, infrastructure as code. We have deep expertise in Microsoft workloads, so Windows operating systems, Microsoft products, really operating those efficiently within the cloud. And we're one of the original launch partners for the Well-Architected program, which we can look at customers' workloads in AWS, evaluate and help them build upon the 5 pillars of Well-Architected, what it means to run efficiently. So operational efficiency, reliability, security, cost optimization. So now that you know a little bit about EagleDream Technologies, I want to throw a few companies up on the screen here, and I'm sure that many of you will recognize them. So I think we just saw this one, right? We saw this one in Adam's presentation. We didn't coordinate this, but you know, I think we've got probably a few people out in the audience that are streaming today. Anybody here using Netflix, right? Anybody here an Office junkie like myself? You've got till 2020 until they take it off of Netflix, so I think you can get a few more runs in. I plan on it at least. So anybody booking travel this summer? Maybe renting cars, plane tickets, hotels. Any golfers out there? I think we heard PGA earlier as well, right? This is actually one of our customers. And FINRA, anybody know who FINRA is? Anybody familiar? Anybody here in the stock market, familiar with the stock market? FINRA is the regulator for the New York Stock Exchange. So they do things like detecting market manipulation and fraud. But you know, you're seeing 4 very different companies on the screen here behind me. And there's one thing that's very, very much in common here, and that's that these 4 companies are operating in the cloud today. At some point in their journey, some have been around for some time, some not so long, but they've decided to leverage and use cloud-based technologies to really move their business forward and really transform and take advantage of the technologies that are available today. So what I want to talk to you about are some of the things that maybe concern companies as they start to explore cloud. Maybe they're not quite there yet. Maybe they're starting to dabble a little bit, but they're not ready to take that next jump. So I want to talk through about four different myths today, or misconceptions about the cloud. Number one being that the cloud is not enterprise ready. The cloud's not ready for me to put my production workloads up into it, and it's really just a playground for developers. So let's get a look at the overall AWS global network and reach around the world. So 6 continents right now. Amazon defines at the highest level what they call a region. So this is a geographic location in the world. And these regions are connected by very, very fast redundant links, 100 gigabit links between each region with tens of thousands of miles of cable connecting them. And within each of these regions, they're defined by what are called availability zones. And an availability zone is a separate, isolated location, typically 2 or more per region, that are within each region are composed of data centers within that. So they're isolated in the sense that they are using independent power grids, independent internet providers with redundancies built in, along with redundant generators, backup systems. And with these availability zones, you can easily spin up workloads in more than one availability zone. You can architect your application and take advantage of these. And because of the very high-speed links between each availability zone, you wouldn't really notice any difference. The performance is almost like you're running in one single data center. And the links between these availability zones are very, very high throughput, low latency links with redundancy built into them. So you can actually go ahead and build your systems today to run across availability zones. And if one of them ever sees a flood or a natural disaster is taken off the map, they're far enough away from each other that the others can continue to operate. And while you can build systems on your own to do this, there actually are some what we call platform services. So services that you run something on top. For example, a database, you run the database on top, and Amazon handles everything underneath, from the hardware up through the operating system, through the patching. And if we want to talk for example, one of my favorite ones, so Amazon S3, if you've ever heard of this before, it's used for storage. This has 11 nines of a durability. Your data that's stored in Amazon S3 is copied through 3 or more availability zones. And there's nothing you have to do to make that happen. It's automatically provided to you at a very, very low cost. Another one, Amazon RDS, I mentioned database, platform as a service. So you can run a SQL server right now in an availability zone, turn on multi-AZ, and it will automatically replicate that to another SQL server. You don't have to configure that. They automatically do that for you. And if your primary goes down, the secondary takes over, and your end users know no difference. Elastic load balancing, you can spin up multiple load balancers by specifying the availability zones you want to run in at the click of a button. And Amazon Aurora, which is Amazon's own database platform service that they've created. It's lower cost than commercial databases, but it's MySQL, Postgres compatible. They keep 6 copies of your data across 3 availability zones. So again, you can see how these redundancies are built in to their platform that you don't even need to manage on your own. So think about that for a second. If you're running in a data center today, and let's say you're going to expand your global presence, how long might that take to create another data center? Or maybe work with another colo to get your systems built in there. Maybe months, years, might cost millions of dollars. Today, I can, at the click of a button, replicate an entire system and create it in another zone within minutes at the click of a button. Amazing, amazing technology. So let's look at a use case for one of our customers that I actually helped throughout this project of getting them to the cloud. So they had an older hypervisor VMware system coming end of life. Operating systems were running Windows, end of life operating systems, single points of failure. And this is for a cargo handling company based out of JFK Airport. They're international, but we worked with the Northeast region in particular. And to give you an idea of the need and the criticality of their systems, they track cargo. They create air waybills, and they track cargo as it goes from beginning to end, all the way, every single point. And if that system goes down, flights typically don't leave the ground. So you can understand how critical the system is to them, and especially since it's a revenue-generating system. So they started to understand what it meant to get to the cloud and get to a highly available architecture, along with PCI compliance too, since they were handling credit card data. And this is what we built for them. They went from single VMs running on a host to multi-tier, highly available architectures. So highly available web tier, highly available storage tier, using platform services for their database. And they were really able to take advantage of the cloud by building it properly and integrating with all the other AWS services that were there and that they had to offer. So lots of security and auditing and logging that they were able to get to help them with their PCI compliance. And one really cool thing about this is since they've migrated to the cloud, they've seen 0 downtime. I don't think a lot of businesses can say that just by maybe moving to another data center or maybe moving to another colo. Pretty remarkable. So let's move on to myth number 2. The cloud is not secure. So we hear this one a lot. Cloud is not secure. My data center is much more secure. I have a handle on my data. I know exactly what's going on. So before I get into the details, let's just take a quick look here at what Amazon calls the shared responsibility model. So there's what's called security of the cloud and security in the cloud. Amazon is responsible for security of the cloud. So the things like the global network, the hardware, physical access to their facilities. They're responsible for that level, and you, as the customer, are responsible for everything above that. So if you're running servers today, you're running EC2 instances, which are VMs. You're responsible for the operating system patching. You're responsible for the applications that run on top. You're responsible for the data that you're storing in those systems. So they define this very well in this picture here that I've got displayed behind me to show who's responsible for what. So let's talk a little bit about security of the cloud. So Amazon has over 50 plus certifications, regulations, and frameworks that they attest to. So when we talk global certifications, things like ISO 27001, PCI, DSS Level 1, SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3. When we talk regulations, things like HIPAA, HITECH, GDPR, ITAR, frameworks such as CIS, NIST, FISMA. And these are things that you can leverage as part of your compliance requirements and the data that you're storing up in the cloud. Their SOC 2 outlines much of the detail around handling data or handling anything that may have your data on it. Very strict guidelines about access into their systems and third-party access and who can actually touch the systems, in addition to how the hardware is handled after your data is no longer on it, how they sanitize it and destroy it. Very well documented and outlined in their documentation. And what I think is really interesting is that when we talk isolation, so we say, well, cloud is a multi-tenant system, right? I might be operating on the same piece of hardware that my competitor is running on. What if they try to steal my data? Well, this was kind of dispelled in a really interesting white paper that was put forth where the Department of Defense wanted to use the cloud. They were looking to get to the cloud, and they had very strict guidelines around physical separation in the cloud. And with the help of Amazon's very customized underlying systems, their Zen hypervisor, that they're very active in the Zen community. They were able to educate the Department of Defense and say, look, at the things that you are looking with physical separation between other systems is actually, we've already taken care of that at the logical layer. And they were actually able to convince the Department of Defense that logical separation actually met all of their physical requirements for separation in the cloud. So if it's good enough for the Department of Defense, I'm sure it's good for most of the businesses that are out there today. So security in the cloud. So how do we make sure that we operate securely in the cloud? Well, luckily, Amazon provides a variety of tools and services that we can leverage out of the gate. Security is ingrained in everything about Amazon Web Services. It's ingrained in everything that we do at EagleDream as part of helping our customers get to the cloud. And there's many tools available. So things like CloudTrail, Config, audit trails, logging, Macy, Guard Duty. Guard Duty uses machine learning in the back end to basically detect unauthorized access or strange things happening in your AWS accounts. And there's many layers to the onion to really help you. So if we're looking at it from a high level, you can run things in multiple AWS accounts at the highest level, so different workloads. Within there, we can create networks within those accounts to segregate our workloads. We can use things like network ACLs between subnets to separate further, and then also things like security groups, which we can wrap into machines and some of the services so that we can control what can talk to what. So again, many layers of the onion that we can take advantage of for security in the cloud. And when we talk about data in the cloud, data encryption, data security, so you own your data in the cloud. Amazon cannot touch your data without explicit consent from you. And even in most cases, when you try to work with support, they can't look into your system. They can't touch anything. And you have the ability to protect that data both at rest and in transit by leveraging the encryption built into their services. You could bring your own keys. You can use Amazon's built-in keys. But again, it's a flip of a switch. There's nothing special you need to do to leverage encryption in the cloud. Also, when we talk about pen testing, vulnerability testing, so you can pen test against Amazon systems. You still not be able to do this without written explicit consent from them. But now there's a variety of services you can pen test on the fly. And they also leverage other tools like Amazon Inspector that you can use for vulnerability testing on your systems. So again, lots of security built into the cloud that you can use once you get up there and doesn't require any third-party interaction. So let's look at another use case of a customer. I'm working with a company right now. They're a molecular diagnostics company specializing in early-stage cancer screening products. And because of this type of product they produce, they're bound by compliance. So GXP, they have to make sure their systems are validated. HIPAA, they're handling healthcare data, potentially in some of their systems. And this customer realized that the benefits of the cloud and how they can really leverage it to operate securely and efficiently. And this is something that we were able to help them do. They just got their production system migrated up, actually this last week. Went very well. And they went from an old SAP on-prem ECC ERP system, took advantage of a newer S/4HANA deployment multi-node architecture, to really see the performance value and really move their business operations forward and take advantage of the latest and greatest things of SAP. So a great example of a company that has to operate securely in the cloud, and they're doing it today. So number 3, cost effective. Our CFO's favorite topic, cost, right? We tend to hear a lot, there's a lot of hidden costs. Not a lot of transparency in the cloud. It costs a fortune. That's actually not true. So really, the cloud, what actually makes it great is the fact that it's on-demand resources that I can spin up at any time, use them, and when I'm done, I can turn them off, I can get rid of them. In the data center, I don't really have that flexibility. If I need to spin up new systems, I might need to buy new hardware. I'm going to have to make a very large capital upfront investment. And I'm going to have to go through that cycle multiple times every 3 to 5 years. But in the cloud, I can start running now. I can build systems now and run them. If I decide that I want to pivot, I can turn those systems off. I can also do really cool things like auto-scaling. I can scale my systems up when I'm seeing a lot of demand, and I can scale them back down automatically when nobody is accessing my systems. But there are also different ways, because the main cost drivers are really compute, data transfer, and storage in the cloud. Those are really what cost is focused around. And Amazon has actually built in some discounted pricing if I wanted to commit to running compute for a certain amount of time, so maybe 1 or 3 years. I can see discounts for committing to use that if I know that those systems are going to be around for an extended period of time. We talked a little bit about scalability, the elasticity of the cloud. There's some platform services that are available where I don't actually even need to run servers. Lambda is a good one, running functional code in the cloud. I basically pay for every time I execute that for the few seconds I execute it. And it's very, very, very cost effective because I'm not managing a fleet of machines to do that. There's a variety of platform services out there available that you can take advantage of that low cost with. And then when I want to track costs, let's say I want to make sure that I'm within my budget. Many tools built into the platform natively, but also third-party tools available like Cloud Health. We're partnered with them. They've got a great platform for having one looking glass. If you've got multiple accounts, you can see them all in one single pane of glass that your CFO can look at as well, specialized dashboards for them, and do some really interesting optimization through that platform to ensure that you're running efficiently and that there are no unused resources hanging around. So let's take a look at a use case here. So one of our customers that we're working very close with now, Monroe Muffler, I'm sure many of you are familiar with them, automotive services company, headquartered in Rochester, New York. Roughly 1,300 stores across the nation. When we started working with Monroe, we started to kind of peel back the layers of the onion and see, what they're doing and how we can help them and digitally transform. And right now, we're in the process of building them a cloud-native data lake. So taking their data from all different types of systems, CRM systems, POS systems, third-party data, taking that information and aggregating it into one place and cost-effectively analyzing that data. Right now, they're running some legacy tools that are costing them a lot of money. Very, very large SQL servers that can't scale. They're doing transformations within the database through stored procedures. Legacy BI tools that are also costing them a fortune. And really, we have 3 goals in mind here that as we help this customer and build a data lake for them. And that's helping their business understand their customers better, driving customized offerings to their customers, and improving the customer experience through feedback. And we're going to be able to achieve that by building this data lake and using Amazon's very low-cost S3 storage as the data store, and then do whatever we want with that data and model it and transform it in ways that they could not do before. And this data lake architecture that we'll be building out from them is going to save them about $1 million over the course of 3 years by moving away from legacy software packages. That's pretty substantial. So lastly, AI/ML tools in the cloud, only for researchers, only for people with PhDs. Well, another myth. So as you see behind me, there's quite a few different AI/ML services available from Amazon Web Services that you can use today. And what's really great about these services is you don't need to be a researcher to use these. If you've got a little bit of a software development background, you can start taking advantage of these services today. A few cool ones that I like in particular. One of them is called Deep Racer on the screen behind me. And that looks like an RC car. It's an autonomously controlled car. It's a little, basically robotic car, 1/18th scale car that uses an advanced form of machine learning called reinforcement learning. And you can train models in the cloud and help it to get better and better, take that model, put it onto the car, and then have it drive around the track by itself. We're actually going to be doing some of this at EagleDream soon to get a few teams together and drive a Deep Racer around. And I think right now this has become a global thing. It was introduced at reInvent last year, end of the year, and now it's become a global event. I think the best time around the track is about 9 seconds. So really cool use of machine learning. Last time we were here in Buffalo, we used a deep lens. So a deep lens, it's a little device. Kind of looks like it's like a little computer, almost like a Raspberry Pi with a camera on top. And we actually used that in our last tech talk to gather sentiment analysis. So we were able to take in video of the crowd throughout one of the presentations, take that, feed it up to AWS, do some analysis of that through recognition, and then get a feel for sentiment analysis and show that on the screen at the end of the presentation, and shows if people were maybe happy or maybe sad and what their faces were doing with a graph across the screen. And this is something that was it literally took our developers, maybe 2 or 3 developers, about 4 hours to put together. So you can understand how easy it is to take some of these technologies and run with them. If we look at an interesting use case for one of our customers that we're helping now, has anybody here ever moved before, moved into a new house, maybe a new apartment, hired a company to help them do that? If you've ever hired a moving company, you know that it takes time to do that, right? You have to call them, they have to come to your house with their clipboard, inventory things on I'll take a look around, it takes time, you have to take time out of your day. This company was able to develop a technology or software that is simply an app that you put on your phone, and with that, you can take your phone and take a video and scan your house. And it gathers that video, sends it up to AWS, and then uses recognition to identify things in there. So, for example, you've got it detects a couch, table, a chair, 3 pictures, figures out what the weight is, and then they send you an estimate. You're going from hours of a time investment to get somebody to your house to help you move to now I get an estimate within maybe minutes to an hour. Really, really interesting use of machine learning technologies and how it's helping that business drive their transformation forward. So let's go ahead and wrap it up here. And if you're starting to just explore cloud technologies, or you really want to get to the cloud, but you're not sure where to start, these 3 key points here will help you get there. So the first stage, and we do this with a lot of different customers, is really education. Understanding what's out there, educating those around you, kind of taking the fear out of the picture, and really gathering that buy-in within your company of the stakeholders. The next phase is evaluate. So evaluate your systems. What are you running today? Where do you want to be? Define your digital transformation strategy. How do you want to move to the cloud? Do you want to just move your systems up? Are you going to start from scratch? You really have to start building that plan. And once you can build that plan out, you can execute. You can move fast. Build a minimally viable system in the cloud. If you fail, we hear this a lot, fail fast, take risks. Fail fast, absolutely. No need to take risks. Just because we're moving fast doesn't mean we have to introduce risk into what we're trying to do. AWS actually takes a lot of that risk out. And if we take advantage of some of the services that are out there, so the DevOps services, CI/CD services, and we develop properly and we migrate properly to the cloud, we can remove all risk from the equation. And then from there, we start moving systems up, and we figure out that path forward, and we accelerate that journey. And it becomes, again, an iterative process to really drive your business forward into the digital age. So I hope that was some useful information to help you get into the cloud. If you have some more interest and would like to talk after, I'll be around. So thank you everybody for listening today, and I hope you have a great day.